Hello everyone, this is your daily dose of slop, and we're gonna talk about the Switch 2. Yep. A lot of drama happening about the Switch 2 recently. Yeah, a lot of hate coming towards Nintendo, a lot of people are mad, whether it be the new terrible Nintendo prices, whether it be the greedy practices that they're doing, or it being the Switch being able to be bricked anytime by Nintendo pressing a button because they don't like you. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with Nintendo. And, there's a lot of backlash. And honestly, it's kind of surprising because Nintendo has never received this amount of backlash, ever before, I'm pretty sure. Even the Wii U didn't get this much backlash. And that was, the worst selling console or something like that. Oh, yeah, I think it was actually the Virtual Boy, but I don't think people care about that. But anyway, I wouldn't want to put my 2 cents on the table about this whole situation that has honestly blown massively out of proportion for Nintendo. So the point of this video is to answer the question, is the Switch 2 hate justifiable? And my answer is, drumroll please. No, Nintendo has done nothing wrong, and they are literally just the victims of this entire situation. I bow before them. I'm just kidding, of course. I think the main thing I'm confused about this whole debacle and stuff is, why people are surprised at Nintendo. Did people never know that Nintendo was always, an incredibly greedy company? They've been greedy in the past, and they've been probably greedier than they have been, now. And it's, I don't know, why are people surprised about this, bro? We all knew Nintendo kind of sucked. Just looking back at the Switch 1 era, there's a lot of sins that they made, so to speak. They made it so you had to pay a subscription to go online. Even if you have Wi-Fi, you have to pay Nintendo to play online video games. And they also took down Yuzu, the emulator, which is unconstitutional, or not unconstitutional, unlawful, because having an emulator is legal, I think. I don't know, I think there's a precedent in some kind of case back then, but you know what I mean. Yuzu did nothing wrong, and they did a massive lawsuit against them, and basically forced them to take it down. I'm still a little sick, by the way. Not only that, but they also took down videos and channels for using their copyrighted songs, instead of letting people use their songs and giving them free marketing. And they also never fixed the issue with drift for the Switch 1. Because, if there's drift on their controller, then people are going to be forced to buy new controllers by them. Their new $80, $90 Joy-Con controllers. And, if you're asking me, I think that's pretty not good already. Even just that, I only listed a couple examples. Even that seems a little bit of a no-no, you know what I mean? So it surprises me that, Switch 2, obviously, there's a lot of sins about the Switch 2, mainly the price and also the Nintendo system being bricked. But, they've always been pretty bad, they've always been pretty terrible. I think just the difference with this one is that they're being blatantly terrible. At least back then, they were kind of, sneaky about it, at least. They made it oh, it's only $20 a year for playing online video games, while you also have to pay for your power and rent and Wi-Fi. That's sneaky, because it seems like a low price, but you still need a subscription. Nowadays, Switch 2, they're just oh, okay, well, I don't care about you guys anymore. We're literally letting you know that we never cared about you, and we're making games $90. And we know you're gonna buy it because you guys are our slaves. That's pretty much what they're saying. I'm just surprised that it happens now. We've always bought into Nintendo doing this stuff, and so why should they expect us not to do the same? And it kind of seems like we are doing the same, because we, Switch 2 became the fastest selling console of all time or something like that. But I don't know, it's just kind of weird that, people choose now to complain about things. Oh yeah, another sin that I want to mention, this is a Cinema Sins video actually, put up a sins counter. Anyways, the game chat feature. So people are talking about how there's a new button on the Switch for game chat that you have to pay for. That's pretty stupid, I'm not gonna lie. However, compared to what Nintendo's done in the past, I really don't think that's too much of a stretch. Like, you know, like I mentioned before, you have to pay to play online video games anyways. So, you know, I'm not very surprised that Nintendo would, you know, add a subscription button on your controller. And I guess people, I feel like, are over, like, for this part specifically, people are over complaining about it, in my opinion. Like, it's stupid, but, like, you know, I think the much more stupid thing is your whole system being able to be bricked by Nintendo. But anyways, I'll get into that more later. I mean, the game chat feature is, I feel like, yeah, it is more of like a reflection on Nintendo's increasingly anti-consumer practices. But, you know, even so, I don't know, man. It's just kind of weird that, you know, people care about it now. They never cared about it before. Like, what the heck? Anyways, like, I think my perspective kind of lies in this one video that I watched recently by Emplemon. Actually, technically it's by, like, Downward Diary, I think. It's his, like, second channel. Anyways, you should watch this video. I'll link it in the description. I think it covers, like, what my perspective is generally about this whole thing. Except, you know, his video is much better and much better research, so you should go watch it. Also, okay, I'm gonna go on a quick tangent. Can I just say Emplemon is such an underrated, great channel. Like, you guys should definitely subscribe to him, cause he makes some of the best, script videos, and he's a YouTube OG. Yeah, anyways, what are we talking about? Nintendo, they suck, yeah. Alright, I'm not trying to defend Nintendo at all right now. Like, obviously, Nintendo's still bad. Nintendo's still getting worse by every year. Yeah, they're still bad, obviously. But honestly, like, if we're comparing the whole industry, I really don't think Nintendo's the worst out of all of them, you know? It's like, nowadays, people kind of try to make it seem like, oh, Nintendo is the worst in the industry. They are the ones who are bringing this entire gaming industry down, and they should just not exist. But that's definitely not true, you know? There's obviously so much greed in the industry by other people too. Like, for example, you know, the PS5 Pro being $500 with, like, no games on it. And, you know, I think Microsoft's also doing stupid stuff or something. I think there's a new Xbox console. I don't know. There's probably some drama about that. I don't know, man. You go search it up. I'm sure you'll find something. And, like, at the end of the day, you have to give Nintendo credit for actually making good products, you know? Like, there's a lot of other companies that I just don't think make the best products. A lot of AAA studios that, you know, I just don't care about. But Nintendo has consistently given us the highest quality games and the highest quality libraries out there. So, I mean, obviously that doesn't, like, excuse them of being greedy and, you know, stupid, I guess. But, you know, it's just something to consider that I feel like people aren't really thinking about. That's still something that we should commend Nintendo for, and we should encourage in the industry. But, you know, that's just my opinion on it. I'm sure a lot of people think Nintendo's games are bad too. I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, their products don't have, like, microtransactions and stuff, and they're, you know, made by passionate people. And also, the Switch 2 itself seems like, you know, a good quality console on its own, you know? Even though $450 is obviously, like, you know, not good, at least the console is actually good, you know? Like, you're not necessarily getting scammed out of your money. You might be overpaying a little bit because, you know, it is $450 is a lot of money, but, like, you know, the console is high quality. The, you know, 120 FPS, you're getting, like, a PS4 Pro on the palm of your hands. That's, like, really impressive, honestly. But, you know, obviously, Nintendo is still not, you know, being the best right now, especially with all of their stuff. However, I think that this is more of a problem with the industry, like I mentioned before. It's the whole industry that's like this. Like, the whole industry is pretty anti-consumer nowadays, and it's more of, like, Nintendo following the path that the video game industry is going towards than just, you know, a problem with Nintendo itself. Like, people like to point a lot of fingers at just Nintendo, but the whole industry is kind of like this, honestly. Like, for example, the Switch, you know, Switch 2 game cards, where you don't even own the game that you buy, even if it's physical media. It's just a key that you put in your Switch, and it downloads it on the servers. So everything's, you know, on the internet, and that you don't own what you bought, you know? Like, that's literally what Steam said too. Steam literally said you don't own the games that you bought. It's just like a license or something like that. It's not just Nintendo, is my point. Even Steam's doing that. The whole industry is becoming, you know, all online, and they basically own everything, and we don't own any of the stuff that we buy. That's just what the industry is going towards, and Nintendo is just following in those footsteps. Like, honestly, I'm not surprised that Nintendo is able to just brick your system whenever, because, you know, we don't own the stuff that we get. And Nintendo is definitely pushing that, you know, industrial problem in that direction, which, you know, is gay. Okay, nobody cancel me for that. You know what I mean? It's not good. I think people just need to be able to recognize that the whole industry is like this. The whole video game industry, all the AAA studios, this is the path that it was going to go towards, regardless of Nintendo or not Nintendo. And, you know, Nintendo kind of sped it up a little bit, I think, in that direction, which, you know, frick them for that. But, like, at the same time, it was inevitable. You know, this is an industrial problem, not a Nintendo problem. And, yeah, that's pretty much my point. So, is the Switch 2 hate justifiable after all of that, you know, yapping? I mean, yeah. They're being stupid. We should hold them accountable. And honestly, I'm pretty happy that people are hating on it, because maybe it'll bring change within the industry and Nintendo. Probably not, but, you know, I can dream, okay? But I think at the end of the day, people need to know it's not just Nintendo that's doing this. It's everyone. So we should hate everybody equally and, you know, be racist towards all of the companies, not just Nintendo. Yeah, like I said, go check out that Lemon video, because that is basically, he kind of basically says what I just said, except like in a much more coherent manner. And I don't think he like goes into detail about the industry, but you know, it's still definitely worth watch. And keep in mind, I'm not very educated on this topic. Like, I'm just a guy who's chronically online. You know how it is. I'm just looking at the news and making my opinions. I'm not like, you know, hard looking into everything and whatnot. This is just kind of what, you know, I think things are going towards. How do I end this video? For a minute, I lost myself. I lost myself. Oh!